What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, I wanted to bring you something valuable for my first video back to Madden in quite a while, and I do think that this is going to be a very poignant video, very important for you, especially if you're playing franchise mode within Madden 26, because this game does play quite a bit differently than past games have, and different positions matter differently. And I wanted to tell you guys today, in my experience so far with Madden 26, which position I deem to actually be by far the most important position on the field. So let's go ahead and take a look at my roster. We started a fantasy draft with this franchise, and my team started around like an 82, 83 overall, because I did pick a lot of younger, kind of like high dev players, but players that needed to grow, including my quarterbacks. And I actually didn't start with Jalen Milroe. I actually started with the guy that's on the Saints now, Quinn Ewers, and he actually had to play like 6 games in order to cover for an injury for Riley Leonard, and they both played phenomenal. The same concept still counts within Madden 26 by far, that quarterback is not important at all, because you can take pretty much any quarterback and turn them into an absolute monster. At 22 years old, Riley Leonard is an 84 overall, 89 with his morale, and we haven't hit the post-Super Bowl window yet, so he's probably going to go up to Superstar, and he's going to get abilities. He's going to get a big buff for winning some Rookie of the Year stuff and whatnot. Regardless, you know, a lot of people immediately jump to, oh, well, quarterback's the most important position. And that's just simply not the case within Madden 26, and it hasn't been the case in a long time. What I will say is the most important position in Madden 26 is actually your safety positions. And this kind of flies in the face of everything I've ever said within Madden. It's been a long time since we've had a Madden where your safeties matter more than most of the other positions on the field. And let me explain a little bit why. I mean, I still value the importance of your skill positions like your running backs and your receivers, but to be honest with you, like, my team is a perfect example. Jaden Blue comes in and is a better running back than Bijan Robinson, without the abilities, without anything else, and it's simply because he has better speed and acceleration. That's literally all it comes down to. And statistically, that is backed up as well. He is just simply the better running back whenever we actually take a look at his stats. On a per play average, he's better. In a shorter time frame, less carries, he had more touchdowns, and he broke as many tackles. He was just a better player overall than Bijan Robinson, and it's simply because of the athleticism difference. When you talk about receivers, again, low overall players can do phenomenal. My leading receiver, Arian Smith, a rookie, he starts out as like, I think a 60-something overall. I've managed to get this guy up to an 81. He's very fast, and that's why he's able to get open. 94 speed. You know, taking a look at some of my other receivers, it's the same story. You know, McMillan comes in as like 70-something overall. You know, we had to develop him a little bit. Gadsden, my tight end, came in as a low overall, scored 20 touchdowns. Isaac Tesla, or Tesla, however you say his name, got a bunch of receiving yards as the third receiver. So, you know, it just goes to show that you can have uber production with those guys. My offensive line is a good offensive line, but it doesn't matter on the whole. I'm still getting sacked. They're still getting block shed. They're not as important as they should be. Defensively speaking, the defensive line is not as good as they should be. Aiden Hutchinson doesn't just win one-on-one matchups the way he should. I have almost as many sacks with my defensive tackle that has no business having as many sacks. I mean, not as good with his moves, not as good block shedding, not as fast, not as athletic, none of that stuff. So, you know, defensive line, don't overinvest into your defensive line. I overinvested into Aiden Hutchinson and Rousseau in this fantasy draft, and they simply haven't shown the production necessary to make that worthwhile. And then, you know, your linebackers and your cornerbacks matter coverage-wise and whatnot, but a good user can make up for a lot of different things. What a good user and good defensive players can't make up for is horrendous coverage in this game. And I know that they've recently updated this game, but they did not fix the major issues with safeties being absolutely broken. If your safeties aren't right where they need to be and you pick the perfect play, the receivers are just going to run right by them. And, that's credit to having lower end safeties. Cole Bishop started as like a 72. Now he's up to like a 78. So, his awareness and whatnot isn't super high, 72 boosted to 77 awareness. Play recognition not that high, and you noticed it. And then at strong safety, I was starting Andrew Makuba, and it was the same exact story. This guy's only a 76 overall, low coverage ability, low awareness, low play recognition, and it shows. I traded for Jeremy Chin to try to boost my secondary, and he plays noticeably better. He has better play rec, better awareness, not really better zone coverage capability, but he plays much better at that position, and he plays really well as a sub linebacker. But the best players in this league, the guy that I'm going to be going up against in the Super Bowl, has two really awesome safeties, and they break all of the rules of coverage within Madden 26. And that is why I'm saying these are the most important positions, simply because he has Minkah Fitzpatrick and Harrison Smith. The coverage rules that apply to everybody else do not apply to him. So whenever you're in a cover 3 and you launch, you audible into a seam route or whatever, these guys don't let it by them. They don't just stand in their deep blue zone and let it run down the seam. I can't tell you how many plays on this game I've seen where I call a cover 3 and my deep 3 safeties cover absolutely nothing. They stand in their blue zones and allow a seam route to go right past them, even though it's the only route anywhere deep, anywhere in any type of potential cover area for them. They simply do not react. But that does not apply when you have these high end, high awareness, high play recognition, and high coverage and ability safeties. They completely change the game on that. If you do throw something that looks like it's going to beat a cover 3 or whatever it might be, these safeties react, and they, what I would call, glitch to the football. Now, they don't necessarily have the best abilities ever, and we've banned some abilities within this game. The abilities help for sure. Having deep zone KOs, on Minkah Fitzpatrick, he forces a lot of incompletions that would potentially be catches, especially with, good receivers and whatnot. Harrison Smith, same thing, mid zone KOs. He's more of a hitter type of a player, but it's really the awareness and the play recognition here defensively that is a massive game changer. And, whenever I played this guy the first time around, it was just one play touchdown, one play touchdown, one play touchdown for his side. And I had to work my way down the field every time, because if I even tried to throw the ball deep at all, these guys were glitching to the football, breaking away from their zones. Things that would be open for him were not open for me. And okay, you might be sitting there saying, well, like, yeah, duh, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick versus Cole Bishop. Obviously, there's going to be a difference. But the truth of the matter is, it's a difference between sitting there and doing absolutely nothing, because zone coverage and coverage in general in Madden 26 is completely broken and completely useless unless you have the abilities on your players, or you have the top tier awareness and coverage capabilities. And the difference between, having that coverage be completely broken and having your players just be able to do whatever they want and cancel out half of what an offense is trying to do. So again, whenever we take a look at this matchup that we played in week 4 or whatever it was, there's a big difference. And these Milrose stats are not accurate, because this guy came in, I traded for him to the Saints, but there's a big difference between the Jackson Dart coming in, throwing 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, because my defense simply could do nothing to stop him. Again, just one play touchdown after one play touchdown. 349 yards on 13 completions is absolutely ridiculous. They were just blowing by every single one of my safeties on every single play, versus I completed 25 passes, a lower percentage of my passes, and threw 3 interceptions, because their defense is simply playing the ball better. Minkah Fitzpatrick was over here breaking up everything. Yes, a couple of their other players had interceptions. Those were off of tip balls from the safeties. I remember specifically there were a couple of times where Harrison Smith was just getting to balls that he shouldn't be able to get to. I mean, when you talk about Harrison Smith, he is not athletic as far as Madden is concerned at all by comparison. I mean, Harrison Smith should not realistically be able to move to the ball the way he does in this game. And a lot of people, especially in a fantasy draft, would typically overlook him with 87 speed, 86 excel, 87 agility, 80 change of direction. But I'm telling you, it literally does not matter. When you have awareness and play rec that are this high, he is going to break to the ball immediately, and he is going to get plays and animations that other safeties simply are not, based on his awareness, play rec, and that 89 zone coverage. And it's absolutely crazy, and it's really, really difficult to play against because it makes you have to dink and dunk and work the ball downfield, and you have to really earn any touchdown that you get. Whereas I think you guys have all probably seen it if you've been playing Madden at this point, the broken seam routes. It's just seam route, seam route, seam route. It's open if you're calling cover 3, and there's almost nothing you can do about it if you don't have the best of the best back there on the back end of your secondary. And like I said, everybody in this league gets away with low-end quarterbacks and developing them. Everybody in this league can get away with a young running back that just has high athleticism. Everybody can get away with young receivers that are athletic. That's literally the most important thing. You can get away with a young tight end that's athletic and build them up. You can get away with a serviceable offensive line because this investment here is not necessarily worth it. The superstar abilities do not impact the game quite as much as they should on the offensive line. Investing in the D-line has not been worth it. It has not yielded the returns that I thought it would. Having things on Aiden Hutchinson like El Toro and Edge Threat and all these different things pass committed where you get these, instant wins if you predict pass, they just don't work the way that they should. They are not as effective. And I know that they've tried to change some things with the pass rush and whatnot. But realistically, when your coverage in a game is broken, you have to have the pass rush be quick. And there's nothing I can do. When my safeties cannot stop his receivers, they don't even react at all to receivers going deep. Even if it's just one receiver, they do not react at all to it. And I have no pressure coming in on the quarterback because, having top end edge rushers that have the best abilities don't do anything. You have to run loop blitzes and whatnot in order to get pressure. So, investment in that side of the ball is not necessarily worth it. Investment in your linebackers is not necessarily worth it because despite my investment in these linebackers that are pretty good as far as awareness and play rec and coverage is concerned, and they're young and they're relatively athletic, it don't matter. I'm telling you, it don't matter. They don't react in zone coverage. They cannot keep up in man coverage. And unless you're using them, you're not going to get anything out of these guys. So the investment isn't worth it. If you ever do a franchise on Madden 26, I recommend you pick a team that has top tier safeties or is going to be able to get top tier safeties or trade for some top tier safeties and fill in everything else around that. Build around your safeties on defense, because if you don't have safeties, you simply do not have coverage within Madden 26. And trust me, I've done all the different tips that you see out there for Madden 26. Pinch your safeties, bring them down low, change them so that they drop back, shade coverage, guess routes, every single thing that you've seen out there. I've tried it, especially against users. It does not work. It's like when you play a user, it's like your guys just turn into statues out there on the field. It's absolutely crazy. So, I'd be curious to hear if you guys have some of the similar issues. Do you have, a similar take as I do on Madden 26 and the most important position? I would absolutely love to have some superstar safeties right now because I'm about to play the Super Bowl against this guy. And I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to stop his offense. I know I'm not going to be able to stop his offense because my safeties, despite trading for Chin and despite upgrading them over the season, they just simply don't have it to be able to overcome the broken coverage within Madden 26. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Any opinions you guys have on it, please let me know. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Please leave a like down below, subscribe, and leave that comment like I mentioned. Like I said, as always, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good one.